Hello everybody and welcome back to Kerbal Space Program, where we are bringing this Duna refueler up, and I believe we were ready to launch this. I just need to double check. We've got a heat shield on here, yes. Okay, I just wanted to double check that this was all good to go. I know we were going to launch it at the end of last episode, and then that just ended up not happening because we forgot a couple of components or something. But we'll go ahead and launch this now, and let's get going. So we're going to have to go rescue our Duna mission, but that's fine. I completely winged it, and this is what happens when you do that. I thought we had enough, but we did not. It's okay. We had almost enough. Honestly, all we needed was like 1,000 more meters per second, tops. But let's go ahead and lift this guy off. Wait a moment, this is Jebediah. We need to go back and get Bill. Bill is the one that we need because we need an engineer for this. Oh, right. That's what we forgot last time. We forgot to include the... Oh, this is the autosave ship, isn't it? This is not the actual ship. Yeah. Is this the actual one that we did, or did I save over it? I may have saved over it. Yeah, we need... Okay. So we need Bill in this. There we go. And we need to put in a pod here. So we need to drop down our heat shield because we need a remote guidance unit in this. Because Bill can't pilot. He's not a pilot. So we need that. And we need to make sure that he can EVA out of this as well. So let's just do that real quick. We'll EVA him, make sure that he can get out and the hatch isn't obstructed, because that would be a problem. And then if that's all good, we should be ready to launch this, in theory. Emphasis on in theory. Okay. Any moment you want to start responding, KSP. There we go. We'll have Bill EVA. Yup, that works. Fantastic. We'll throttle up, SAS on, and let's get boosting. Off we go. We're going to start pitching over at about 50 meters per second, I think. We're a little slow off the pad, but that's fine. Okay. And then once we get to about 200 meters per second, I think, we will just lock prograde for the time being. Or maybe we'll just keep doing this. I do tend to get too much vertical speed on my ascent profiles, so that's something I'm consciously trying to change right now. It's a delicate balance between getting too much vertical speed and too much horizontal speed. You really have to thread that needle. And that's something that MechJeb is much better than me at, but that's fine. Okay. We're going to have a detachment in about 40 seconds here. I'm just going to lock prograde for the time being. We may have too much horizontal speed here. I'm not entirely certain about that one. Maybe. Time to apoapsis is still increasing here, but we're starting to see some pretty major heat effects. I'm going to hold here. We'll detach. And off we go. Cool. At this point, I'd like to head over to the horizon. We are relatively high here, but we have some pretty major heating going on. That's not necessarily shocking. Okay. We just want horizontal speed from here on out. So this will be good. We're now in orbital mode, with our apoapsis holding at 1 minute 19 in the future. That's fine. We are completely happy with that. That will start pushing. There we go. 1 minute 20, and up it goes. Beautiful. So we'll hold here for the moment. 60 kilometers apoapsis height soon. And we're just aiming for 70. I want all the horizontal speed we can get for right now. This feels like it's such a long burn when we liquid fuel the side stages. It's a lot. No doubt about that. Okay. We're going to be hitting 70 kilometers soon, but I'm going to push a little beyond that. We're going to push to, I think, about 80. This is going to start going faster and faster, and yeah. That's 80 there. So we'll call that good. And at the apoapsis here, we will go ahead and circularize. That's already too far. That's a bit more like it. Okay. Sure. That'll do. 200 meters per second for that. Not bad at all. And we will be in vacuum when we do that, so we'll be at peak efficiency. Not that the mainsail is that much more efficient in vacuum than at sea level, but we also have some screen messages here that we'll go ahead and get rid of from Duna. Those are not strictly speaking necessary. Okay. So we'll hold here. We are in vacuum, so we can warp on forward. And we will happily do so. It's going to be a purely pro-grade burn once we make our way to the burn point, which will be here in about 5 seconds. Cool. 2, 1, and 0. So off we go. And we'll circularize this. Close enough. I overshot it a little, but that's fine. So at this point, we probably want to gravity assist around the moon and get out of here and get ourselves an intercept with our target location. Something kind of like this. 858 is probably good enough. That'll do. So we're going to be able to do that entire transfer on this tank. And we're going to be able to do some of our inclination change on this tank too. That's really quite good. I'm very pleased with that. This is going to have way more than enough delta V to make this happen, so that's great. We'll get aligned for that burn, and we'll warp around to that. It'll be about 12 minutes, but that's okay. Okay. There's our alignment, or close to it. And we'll go ahead and warp. Fantastic. 2 minutes, 1 minute, and... okay. We'll realign here over the course of this last minute. There we go. And let's warp a little further. Burn happening in 3, 2, 1, burn. So off we go. It's going to be a kind of lengthy burn for a mainsail. Okay. That's fine. But yeah, we're going to be able to get our inclination change off of this as well. I think our inclination is going to only need a very minor change. It shouldn't be very much. We may be able to get that whole inclination change off of this stage too, which would be amazing. And then we just do our intercept braking burn and attachment on this. That'd be great. Okay. We're charging off over this way a bit, but how's that looking? 0.1 meters per second? Close enough. Absolutely close enough. Okay, so we're tumbling a little bit, but we'll get that under control eventually. We'll just warp up over this way. No problem. And then we will warp out over here once we're done with this warp. Hello, Moon. Thanks for the gravity. Later, Moon. It always drops a few frames when I'm doing that when we're warping through because it loads in the high-resolution moon textures and such. It makes me sad whenever it drops frames when we're doing that. I'm just like, this seems like a use for texture streaming, but that's neither here nor there. We're going to warp up over this way, and then we're going to need to find the Duna lander, which is in a relatively stable orbit here. And we should be able to get that done pretty easily. So our ascending node is actually going to be right up over here. Let's go ahead and cancel this warp, and we are going to add a maneuver up here. Oh, we're control locked? We are control locked. That's okay. I didn't include comms on this thing, and I should have, but we should be able to get this done without that, in theory. So this is going to be an anti-normal burn. The question is, how are we going to get a maneuver done for that? That is quite a concern. But yeah, for some reason I just completely forgot to include a larger antenna on this. That is definitely my own fault. Absolutely. Well, we're going to head on over here. There we go. And we'll get our inclination change done here soon. We can just warp to about here. That'll be in about 20 days. And then the question is, how are we going to get ourselves our communications to be able to get this intercept? What is this doing? It warped right past the ascending node. Okay, that's weird. It didn't warp to the place I told it to, but sure, I guess we'll burn here. Cool. So we're on the correct inclination now. So that's the thing. As far as the intercept goes, this would be way easier. Wait. Oh yeah, we are control locked. For some reason I thought it would gray that out. But no, we're control locked right now, so let's warp ahead a little bit. Are we moving... Like, is Kerbal catching up to us? We're in a higher orbit than Kerbal. Yes, Kerbal should catch up to us here. So that should allow us to get comms, I think. This is where we are right now. Wait, was I looking at the asteroid ferry? I think I was. We're going to get further away for a bit here. We're coming out over here. Then we're going to come back over this way. Kerbal is going to outrun us, and not having communications on this is a pretty major issue. That's for sure. Well, we've only got 4 meters per second here on this particular tank. So let's go to the apoapsis here. And let's flip around to prograde. And let's just get this thing turned, burn off these 4 meters per second, and then we'll see what we want to do from there. I feel like Bill should be able to do the planning, but, I mean, he is an engineer, so maybe he can't. Okay, we're going to burn our 4 meters per second here. And ditch that. Okay. There we go. So at this point, we could just try to YOLO an encounter. It is an option. I don't know that it's a good one. But we could do that. So let's just push this out and see where this happens to be. I mean, eventually, with our apoapsis here and our periapsis here, eventually there would be an encounter, but that could potentially be in like millions of years. So that's not necessarily the greatest. We're just going to push our periapsis out here and it'll become our apoapsis, and we'll see. I don't expect this to be a particularly good encounter. That's circularized there. And now we're pushing that apoapsis out. Cool. So we're going to bring that out here, and the Duna lander is currently here. We're moving faster, of course. But what does this intercept look like? I imagine it's going to be bad. We need to push out our apoapsis a little further. Our thrust to weight here isn't super high, so it's taking a little bit for this burn. But what will this look like? I'm curious. Okay. So they're going to be here, and we're going to be here. That's a wee bit of a separation. We could try to burn a radial direction to bring that down. Let's physics warp a turn here and see which radial direction do we need. We need radial in if we're going to do that. Now, this is not going to be the most fuel-efficient way of doing things, but, I mean, we don't have comms, so maybe it is what it is. Yeah, that's a pretty major yikes, if I'm honest. That's going to take a lot of fuel. Let's push around to prograde for the moment. And we may have to do multiple orbits to make this happen. The question is, how many orbits? Okay, we'll push that up. Hang on a moment. Okay. Yeah, I thought something like that might happen. So, that's going to be interesting. We would definitely be able to do this more easily with maneuvers. That's for sure. So there's that. I just didn't include comms on this thing. I, for some reason, thought that Bill would be able to handle it. Of course he can't. He's an engineer. I don't know why I thought that would be the case. But that's fine. We are going to warp up over this way for the time being. And I want to see what this ends up looking like. However, this is going to be pretty lengthy here, and so I'm going to go ahead and pause the recording here, and we'll be back once this time warp is done. See you in a bit. Okay, and we're back. I apologize for not showing you this, but I knew that we had a very limited window to get this set up. For some reason, communications flickered in. It is now gone. But for some reason, communications flickered in and allowed me to create this node. I knew I had a very limited window in order to do it. We're 1.1 kilometers away here. It's incredibly sensitive. We can't really modify it from this point either. But we did manage to find an intercept here. It's a little bit inefficient, but that's what happens when we don't have comms. This is the best I can do. So we're going to head on over. And it is going to be in a year. So we do have to do an orbit here. We'll pause it again while we're doing this time warp. But I just wanted to update you guys that I managed to get this. I don't know what we connected to. I didn't care. I just wanted to get this set up as quickly as we could. So we'll be right back as soon as this warp is over. And here we are, and ready to commence our burn. Well, in about a minute anyway. We'll warp forward a little bit further here, and that will be just fine. 2, 1, and burn. Fantastic. So let's get this burn done. As you can see, this is a bit of a complex burn. If we look at the actual maneuver setup here, well, actually, that might break things. I'm not going to look at it right now, but it is complicated. There's a lot of prograde, there's a lot of radial, and there's a lot of... Actually, there's a decent amount of normal in there as well, in order to get this within 1.1 kilometers. Now, this is not going to be bang on. Very minute adjustments have a very, very big impact right now. So we'll see how this goes. We have no comms. So all we can do is lock to certain positions and throttle all the way up and down. But that should, in theory, be enough. So we'll continue to burn this. I'm going to physics warp for a bit here because we've got another 40 seconds left in this burn. So let's bring that on up. 15 seconds. Okay. We'll just chase that node a tiny bit because... very, very minute changes. 0.0 meters per second there. We are 322 kilometers out. So we're going to go ahead and thrust limit this down to 0.5%. And we're going to try to bring this on down a little bit. So we're going to go to radial in. And we'll see if we can dial this in a bit. That would be nice. Okay. Yep. That's coming down nicely. There's only 0.5% of, like, 5% thrust. Okay, that's like 100 kilometers. Okay, that started to come back up at the end there. So I want to flip around to anti-normal here, and we'll physics warp that turn. 7.3 kilometers is pretty good, but let's see how this goes. We'll get aligned. Okay, that's going up. So we actually need normal. We'll flip around over there. Okay. This is going to lose efficiency soon, I think. 3 kilometers, and yeah, that's losing efficiency. So let's go back to radial in at this point. And let's try to bring that in just ever so slightly more. Nope, that was too much. Back to radial out. We're a little closer than we were, but we need to pull this back in. Remember, this is throttle limited to 0.5% thrust. Okay. That's going back up at this point. That's not necessarily great. I think we'll call 2.4 kilometers good enough. So we're going to add a maneuver here. Our relative speed at that point was what? Actually, let's get rid of this. Why can we add a maneuver right now? Hang on. I added a maneuver when we're not connected. We were connected briefly when I added the last one, I thought. Maybe that wasn't the case? I don't know what's going on there. But at any rate, we know that this is going to be around here. I'm not going to add the maneuver because we're not supposed to be able to, from what I understand. Interesting. I wonder if we were supposed to be able to add the maneuver that we just used. We might be experiencing a bug there. Regardless, I'm just going to warp up over here, and we'll eyeball this. Okay, so that's going to be a pretty lengthy warp here, but time is getting a little squishy for me right now. It's currently 10:30. I go live in like 15 minutes. So time is getting a little squishy for me here. We're just going to bring this in as quick as we can, but I was intending to have us dock up, well, not dock up to it, but grapple onto it by the end of this episode. That may end up not being possible because of timing constraints, but we'll see what that ends up looking like. So we've got a little bit more to warp here. Okay. So that's our asteroid ferry right now. Where are we? We're currently focused on Kerbal. This is us up here. Okay, gotcha. So we're going to need to flip around to target retrograde here. We're basically already there. I'm going to not thrust limit this. Okay, and we can burn, or we can come in a little closer for sure. To about here. That's in 8 days. Okay. So this is basically also anti-target. And this is going to be a somewhat lengthy braking burn. So we don't want to go too close here and overshoot, ideally. Okay. Our distance is still pretty far. I think I am going to add in this maneuver just as a timing thing, just so that we can know. We're not going to actually use the maneuver here, but that's going to be like 656.9 it was. So 656.9. And we know that that timing is going to be in 4 days. So we're not going to use this at all. We have no operational SAS modules. Oh, our power is being occluded. That's a little bit awkward, but we can fix that if we need to. So for the time being, I'm going to warp forward a little bit here, and we'll see if that fixes. What do we got here? Can I warp to here, please? Thank you. 2 days forward. Okay, we can fix this problem with the power, though, and we will. So we'll have Bill EVA here. And we are going to move our solar panel to here and to here. There we go. And now we'll hop back in. And now we've got power. Beautiful. So we'll go back to target retrograde here. SAS disengaged because we lost power. Sure. We're going to warp forward for a little while here to let our electric charge regenerate. We've got 2 days. So that's fine. We'll let that regen. Cool. Okay. And now we'll head back to target retrograde. There we go. We'll position here, and we'll go ahead and warp forward now. We've got full electric charge, and this has an alternator on it, I believe. Yes, it does. So we should be okay. Now, where exactly is this thing in comparison to us? I have no idea. Just looking around for it. I currently do not see it, but we are moving very quickly relative to it. Yeah, that's still focused on Kerbal, which is a bit unhelpful. Okay. That intersect will be in about 2 minutes. But that's fine. We'll go ahead and burn this when the maneuver node says to. Not where the maneuver node says to, but when. And then we'll just do a target get closer burn, probably. That'll be okay. So we'll burn this in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Cool. We'll physics warp for the time being. And we don't care about this. We now can't delete the maneuver node. Okay, that's awkward. But we're going to ignore the maneuver node. It is not relevant. It is this number that is relevant. Okay. So we're about 100 meters per second apart. Ah, there it is. Okay, so where's our intersect now? Still about where it was, of 63.7 meters at this point. Okay, so we definitely burned a little early there, but we're just going to bring this in. Okay, and this is going to start going back up, but we're going to turn over to this direction here. I'm concerned about power, but we have alternators for that. So let's go ahead and do that. This maneuver is going to be awkward for us because it's right in the middle of everything, but let's go ahead and try. This is actually blocking it, isn't it? We can't actually see what our intersect is going to be. Well, that's awkward. We're going to flip around to target retrograde, and we'll just eyeball it. That's completely fine. Okay, so we're moving in at about 53 meters per second. This is irrelevant, and we're going to warp towards this thing a bit. 50 kilometers out. 30. 20. 10 kilometers out. Cool. It's now physics loaded. And we're just going to keep bringing this in a bit. And we'll start our burn about now. Cool. Well, eyeballing it works fine. So that'll be just fine. Okay. We can head in and arm our grabber. Cool. We've got plenty of fuel in this thing, I think. The question is, how are we going to get Bill home? We'll find out. We're going to head in here. That's 2 meters per second, but it should grab on there, I think. Maybe a little fast, but there we go. And we are grabbed. So at this point, we can now get this thing fully refueled, in theory. I don't know if we're going to want to fully refuel it. Because the question is, how much Delta V do we need to get Bill home? But we can figure that out next episode. You can leave your offerings to the engagement gods in the form of likes, comments, oh, we have comms on this too, in the form of likes, or no, we have a pilot rather, in the form of likes, comments, subscribes, and bell ringings, and a very special thank you to all of the channel members for making this video possible, including Casserole, Sigma162, JJ Gamer, Spartan News, Nick Smarty, Video Games Are Not Real, Dimitri H, Punching the Microphone, and all the rest. And of course, you. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to support the channel, click the join button down below the video, and as always, I will see you all next time.